Welcome to the Planning Advisory Committee, Thursday, November 9th. I will call to order the meeting now. The time is 5:04. We will now proceed with item number 2, approval of the agenda. That the agenda for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of November 9th, 2023 be approved as presented. Do I have a mover and a seconder? All in favor? Motion carried. Are there any declarations of interest this evening? Minutes. Item number 4 is a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. I have a recommendation that the Planning Advisory Committee minutes dated September 26, 2023 be accepted as presented. Do I have a mover? James, and a seconder? Leanne. Is there any discussion on the minutes? No? All in favor? Motion is carried. Item 5.1 is a PAC report 08-2023 regarding a CIP application for the post office located at 292 Center Street. The recommendation reads that the Planning Advisory Committee approve CIP application number 2023-04 for 290-292 Center Street in full at a maximum amount of $22,000 in property improvement grant funding to a maximum of $100,000 in loan funding and an amount to be determined for the permit fees and tax increment grant under the downtown core Riverwalk District area. Can I have a mover and a seconder for discussion purposes? Mayor Shankar and a seconder, Councillor Burton. Dana Valentine, Economic Development Officer, will speak to the report. Dana?
Thank you, Chair Young, through you to the committee. So just to provide a little bit of background, the existing post office property was purchased by the applicant, I think it was about 24 months ago now, Raja Jang Developments, for redevelopment purposes. Owner intends to add 7 apartment units ranging from 1 to 3 bedroom. That will be on the 2nd and 3rd story, and then plans to retain the existing Canada Post tenant, as well as lease the remaining vacant ground story portion to a new commercial tenant. So we'll see the building become fully occupied again, which is certainly an exciting development, as well as the addition of some new residential units, which is, I think we can all agree, something that is desperately needed in our community, and a really great addition to the downtown core, bringing more permanent residents into the downtown, just supports investment and provides revenues for the local businesses. So the work will provide high quality new residential units, upgrades to commercial spaces, and as well as building facade improvements. Some of the work has already begun, as you may have noticed. They have been working away on the property, but there was a bit of a delay in the availability of the CIP funding, which resulted in the application just coming before the committee tonight. So the project will restore a very highly visible property, being the post office. It's probably the most visited commercial property in the downtown, certainly one of the most frequented. And upon review, there's no concerns as far as eligibility. Taxes would need to be brought into current standing just for this year, but once that's done, the money can start to flow, and no concerns as far as adherence to municipal policies, bylaws, signage and zoning. They have applied for and received the building permit. And the financial implications of this would be for the property improvement grant, $22,000. For the interest-free loan, $100,000. For the permit, it's $1,000 or 10% of the building permit fee. And then for the property tax increment grant to be determined, which is based on the resulting assessment increase that will come following the completion of the work. And that's essentially the application package is attached, which does provide some background information on plans. The property site plan is included, as well as image of the building, which should provide the committee with some background information. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Is there any discussion on 5.1?
Just a question, it has really nothing to do with it. Are they related to the dentistry at Prescott?
They are, yes, same owner as Dentistry at Prescott, and they actually do plan to use a portion of the space in there for their own warehousing purposes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Has it been determined yet how many residential parking spots will be assigned to the residential units, or is that still in planning stage?
I defer to Sean on that if I can, Sean.
Yeah, it went through the minor variance, and basically there's going to be at least enough for one for each unit. They probably won't have enough for the 15% that you're supposed to have extra for parking, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Okay, I will now call the question. All in favor? Motion carried. Item 5.2 is a PAC report 09-2023 regarding a CIP application for Cozy Closet at 294 King Street West. The recommendation reads that the Planning Advisory Committee approve the CIP application number 2023-05 for 294 King Street West in full at a maximum amount of $22,000 in property improvement grant funding to a maximum amount of $25,000 in loan funding and an amount to be determined for the permit fees grant under the downtown core Riverwalk district area. Can I have a mover and a seconder for discussion purposes? Mayor Shankar? James? Dana, would like to speak to the report?
Thank you, Chair Young, through you to the committee. Just to provide some background on this application, we have an exciting new business that's about to open at 294 King Street, which is the former NetFox location. I'm sure most of you will be familiar with. It's going to be specialized in clothing and home decor. So a new retail boutique, very exciting addition, something that's certainly a target business on the radar of economic development. And they plan to install new signage, lighting, complete some minor interior commercial improvements, mostly cosmetic in nature. The property is in quite good shape based on the previous occupancy. It's in really good position to welcome a new business, which is always good to see. And it will certainly support the opening of a new business in the downtown. And total investment of their project is estimated at $50,000. And then just to bring you through the financial implications and eligibility, there are no concerns as far as eligibility with this applicant. They meet all the requirements and bylaws and are in good standing. And for financial implications, as noted in the recommendation, they're requesting $22,000 in the non-repayable grant, up to $25,000 in matching loan funding, and then the building permit fee of $1,000 or 10%. There would be no building permit fee associated with this application because it is purely cosmetic. So there would be $150 sign permit fee. So the total value of that building permit fee grant would only be $15, so very minimal. And I did forget to note under the previous application, if I can just quickly go back to that for the post office property, the cost of the building permit was $36,000. So that would equate to $3,600 in a building permit fee grant under that previous application. And that essentially covers the request before you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dana. Any discussion on 5.2? Ian?
Thank you. I'm just happy that we're filling the stores downtown. This is exciting. Right, we got a bunch of new restaurants and now we're gonna get another clothing store. This is fabulous. This is great.
And especially for that corner.
Yes.
Because
Oh, yeah.
that corner has gone from nothing to, yeah. And like even the streets are lined like on Friday nights and Thursday nights all the way up and really, really exciting to see.
The retailer will really benefit from the foot traffic.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Perfect location. Any further discussion? No. I will now call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. 5.3 is PAC Report 10-2023 regarding a CIP application for the vault located at 196 King Street West. The recommendation reads that the Planning Advisory Committee approve the CIP application 2023-06 for 196 King Street West in full to a maximum amount of $22,000 in property improvement grant funding, to a maximum of $80,000 in loan funding, and an amount to be determined for the permit fees and tax increment grant under the downtown core Riverwalk district area. Can I have a mover and a seconder for motion discussion? Councillor Burton, Mayor Shankar, Dana Valentine will now speak to the report.
Thank you, Terry On, through you to the committee. For some background information, the existing property was purchased by the current owner for redevelopment purposes. I think it's about 4 years ago now. And the applicant has since opened the Vault, a takeout restaurant in the rear commercial unit. There's 2 commercial units in this property. And the original intent of the owner was to open the takeout portion in the back and then move on to the King Street commercial side, renovate that to open that into a dine-in restaurant. So he's completed phase 1 of his project and received funding under the previous CIP program to support that, and is now just come to the end of his current CIP project and has now requested funding under the new amended program so that he can move forward with phase 2 of the redevelopment, which will create 2 new residential units on the 2nd and 3rd stories and expand the Vault's business to a dine-in restaurant in the King Street commercial unit. So that will get that entire commercial and residential property into full occupancy, ideally within the next 12 months. The owner, as I mentioned, had received previous grant and loan funding under the former CIP program, totaling $13,500 in grants and $20,000 in loan funds. And annual repayments for that loan, existing loan, begin in November 2024. So as a result, the applicant had requested the full $100,000 in loan funds if you refer to the application itself. But as you'll see here in the report and recommendation, we're suggesting that it be capped at $80,000. So the applicant doesn't exceed $100,000 in loan funding because they're in a position where there's still $20,000 in previous loan funds that needs to be repaid. And that would keep us within the eligibility and parameters of the new amended program. So that would be the only adjustment that we're recommending from the application that was submitted. Estimated investment value of the project is between $125,000 to $175,000. Still not 100% sure where they'll end up at the end, but I think that's a pretty good range to give you a sense of the investment that's going to be happening. And again, it's work that will restore highly visible property within the downtown core and generate new foot traffic and add new residential units as well. So another exciting development. And under the eligibility, no concerns there. Their current year taxes are due, just their final installment is due, but once that's received, money can start to flow if the committee should decide to approve their application. And then as noted in the recommendation, they're requesting $22,000 in grants, $80,000 in loan funds, and for the the permit value is $1,870, so that would equate to $187 permit fee grant. And then the property tax increment would, of course, to be determined based on assessment increase. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana. Any discussion on 5.3?
I just have one question. Dana, the previous grant and loan money doesn't start getting paid back till next November?
Correct. The loan funds. So that will become due in November 2024 would be the first annual installment at $4,000 a year for 5 years.
And when would this one start?
The applicant for this, they have 24 months. We did increase that from 12 to 24 months. So the repayment starts 12 months after completion. So it could be as long as 36 months before repayments start.
You have 24 months to complete the project?
24 months to complete, 12 months following completion before repayments begin.
Gotcha. Thank you.
James, did you have any? No? Okay. Can I just ask a question? So whenever you're doing the residential units on like the second and third floor downtown, is there any requirement for parking or no?
Can I defer to you on that, Joe?
Yeah, no problem. If it was a pre-existing residential unit,
Yeah,
no.
okay.
If it's new ones that are being created, yes.
Okay,
So that would qualify as pre-existing.
It was, and they're only putting in 2 in total, one on the
Yeah.
second floor and one on the third.
okay.
Yeah.
Where I was worried, there used to be 4 there before. I was worried that they put 4 back, it'd be a little bit more complicated, but just 2 now.
Yeah.
But they're big units, like, he's literally creating
Yeah, like it's a,
well, he's creating, a seasonal room at the front so that you can enjoy the river. But it's like having a sunroom inside an apartment building.
Okay.
it's a rental?
Yeah, and they.
Well, like it's part of he's planning on living in at least one of them, he tells me.
Okay, okay.
The other one will be a rental, as I understand.
But they will be a single, the entirety of the floor, so they will be large executive apartments.
That'll look amazing.
Well,
Kind of similar to the concept they're doing next door on the 3rd story. They're doing much larger spacious residential units and then more of them on the 2nd story. So they're geared to.
I've got it here if you want to
demographic.
take a look. It's like 1,500 square feet, so it's like
That's-
the size of a house.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Big unit,
nice,
Beautiful views.
yeah, excellent.
yeah, it's great. Anybody else? All good? Okay, I'll now call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Item 5.4 is the CIP financial record. Our CAO treasurer, Matthew Armstrong, will speak to that report.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So this is a report that we provide the committee every so often, just to make sure that we're keeping up and showing how the projects are progressing. So since I think 2018, we have allocated 571,000 towards the CIP, and we approved a total of 611,000 in grants. Some of those grants aren't fully utilized, and so we're able to put some money back into the pot. So far, there's been 69,000 that has not been utilized. With tonight, there's an additional 66,000 that was allocated. And then we always review the ones that are open, determining if there is likely going to be funds left over. So we can identify easily $37,000 worth of funds that will be coming back into the fund when projects are complete. So, long story short, we have allocated pretty much everything that we can at this point. We're in towards middle of November. If there's additional applications come forward, we will likely have to ask council to either put more in the fund, or we will consider them in 2024. So that's kind of where we are from a financial aspect at this point. And then you can see that a total of, including tonight's loans, we're at about 1.2 million that we've approved. 322,000 have been drawn on that. But keeping in mind that between last month's approvals and this month's, that accounts for 825,000. So of the ones that were previously approved, we've allocated the vast majority of all of them have been drawn. There's a couple that didn't require it, and that sort of thing, so that's 66,000 less, but certainly there's some large ones that we've approved more recently, and look forward as those larger projects move forward.
Thank you.
And on the bottom of the first page that talks about grants, so there's also a breakdown by year. So in 2018, there was 8 projects approved, 8 that have now been closed. 2019, 15, and 15 have been closed. 2020, 5 were approved, 2 have been closed, 3 are in progress. For 2021, 14 are approved, 12 are complete, 2 are in progress. For 2021, it was 10, and half of those are completed. So of a total of 55 projects, 42 have been completed, and we only have 13 outstanding.
Thank you. Any discussion?
A lot of numbers here, Matthew. I'm trying to put the math together on some of them.
Yeah, I just really appreciate the breakdown. 55 and projects and 42 have been completed. Like, that's amazing. It's really good. That's really good. And I mean, it's a good problem to have that, middle of November, we've used all the funds and we can move on to 2024 and more exciting news, right? Yeah,
That's a lot of projects in 6 years.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. We've come so far. Yep.
Yeah, the one thing that we don't see here that is amazing is, someone gets a $20,000 grant or loan on a $200,000 project, right? Like it's multiples of that. And I like the way you've, the variance monies that's haven't been used, like in 18, there was 87 approved and we only used 70. So that goes back in the coffers, right? That's what I see there, okay. So that adds up to 195 that's still left after tonight?
So the 195 are projects that are, have been approved and haven't been fully drawn on. So
Do we expect them to be drawn on, like if they're from 18 and stuff like that?
of the 195, I expect 37,000 not to be drawn.
Oh, I see that. Okay. And where'd you get that number from?
So what we did is we went through the projects, in particular the older ones that are outstanding, and just determining, how close are they to completion? Are they going to be completed? Or have they already been completed and there's not much more that needs to be claimed? And that's where we kind of viewed. So there's a couple of projects in 2020 and 2021 that we know are completed and just aren't likely to move to request any more funds.
Okay. So kind of like the 18 and 19 projects, that's,
So all of them are now closed, and so there's no further ones, and we put the money back in the pot on those.
gotcha. So anything that's completed that has outstanding variance goes back in the pot. Thank you.
New business. Does anyone have any new business they would like to bring forward? No questions from media. So we'll move to adjournment. Item 8 is adjournment. I have a recommendation that the Planning Advisory Committee meeting be adjourned. The time is 5:55. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Burton, James? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very